Welcome back to Do-It-Myself Garage. I've got a little bit of a project here with my indoor pool. You can see I have two pumps. One's because I have a hot tub, and the other one is for running the water through the heater, and then obviously running it through the pool. I've got the skimmer turned off on the pool because my level is low right now, so I'm using just to drain, to filter into the pool. I'm letting the pool leak down right now. I had a leak in the steps and it stopped. That'll help me know exactly where the leak is. I was pretty sure I knew where it was, but kind of let physics help you out there a little bit. So two of the things that I need to do, I need to fix the hole in the step. And the other thing I need to do is I need to fix these switches. So these are Jandy valves, and you pretty much can just use them manually. Okay, so let me show you what we got going here. So there's a switch on the back here, and it's in the off position. So if you flip it one way, it'll move the valve all the way to one direction, and it's trying to move it, but it ain't moving. I don't know if you can hear it going or not. That click, click, click you hear is my non-functioning timer. So that has to go also. So I'll be wiring in a new timer. The timer's for the pool. I also want to put a switch on the outside of the wall out here. I'm going to probably put it where this box is. This is the old box for the floor heater. Now, whoa, why am I... My finger was on the zoom button. Sorry about that. So, zoom back out, dummy. Here we go. So this box can come off the wall, and there should just be a small hole behind here, and I'm going to put a timer on here for the hot tub. What I want it to do is when I turn that timer on, I want it to override the valves. I'll show you this valve because this one actually does work. If you flip it, well, it doesn't work at all anymore now. What I want to be able to do is these are electronic valves. There's a manual. This electronic one's bolted right on top of the manual one. Let's show you. This electronic one is bolted right on top of the actual Jandy valve itself. So I just have to replace those. What I want to do is I want to set up a relay so when I turn on the switch out here, it automatically turns on the pump. Therefore, it'll turn on the heater because the heater is triggered by the pump running, which is normally triggered by the timer, but I want to trigger it from the hot tub switch. And what I want it to do is when you switch it to hot tub, it overrides everything. Automatically, both switches go to spa. Right now, it's on spa and spa. I got it labeled so other people in the household can figure it out. And then when the timer runs out and it's done running the heater for the spa, if it's going to have like a 1 hour timer like you would in a hotel, then these will automatically go back to pool. And then if the timer is on to run the pool, it'll run the pool as necessary. I'm not too worried about the temperature. I have never ever had the pool overheat. I'm planning on running the pool a minimal amount as far as the cycles. I have an indoor pool and I've never ever had any problems with the water turning or algae or anything like that. In fact, I go weeks at a time without running the pool. Probably not good for it, but right now with things not working properly, that's what I've been doing. So if I have to adjust this temperature here on this panel to a nominal number that will work for both, I'm okay with that. Maybe in the summertime when the pool's hotter, it gets hotter out here, maybe I'll have to dial back the amount of time that it's on in between, but we'll see how things go. The main thing is I really want it automated because I really have problems with people understanding how to switch the valves. If you do those wrong, you'll either overflood the spa, overflood the pool, or drain it all outside somewhere. So it can be really a mess. Overflooding the pool and spa is not a problem because they actually put a porous floor drain in here. So the rock floor that I have actually is porous along that edge over there and has a drain that goes out, so you really can't flood it. Because trust me, I did it once. I pumped about a fourth of the pool out through the hot tub out onto the floor. Didn't hurt nothing. It all went down through the drain. So anyway, I want to have this automated so it's less of a hassle for people to know what to do. They can literally, I can leave this door shut. This room actually has a door on it. I could actually put a lock on this if I wanted to keep people out of there. They come over here, flip the switch, hot tub's on, they don't have to touch anything, or they can't touch anything. My dehumidifier is here. I run that usually about 60% in the summer, and now that's getting to be winter, 70-75% is fine. Really doesn't need to run that much. Again, I have a pool cover, so I really don't have a lot of the problems with algae or anything like that, or even humidity built up in here, except for when the pool's being used. Open this little, this is kind of weird because it looks like, okay, just this handle comes off of here. I don't know why I'm playing around with the handle. It's not even bolted on. Okay, here's the 4 screws that come out of this. So now underneath this should just be another spot for the handle. So if I'm not mistaken, with the manual valve, you just take it off. Yep. And you put your valve on there just like that. Only fits one way. Anyway, it would go on just like that. Oops, sorry, didn't mean to bump you. Remember, I never claimed to be an expert. Literally, the only thing you have to take off is these 2 bolts on the screws on the outside. Wait, let me get the light over here. Those 2 screws there, that's what holds the valve down. Don't have to take off anything else. Maybe these 2. Let me see. You definitely don't want to take these off. That actually opens up the switch, and that was unnecessary. Okay, yeah, you got to take these 2 loose. But that is it. Again, that's how you make it a manual valve into an automatic, is by putting one of these on top. Alright, it started without you. I already disconnected these 2. I've got the power all off. Get this box off the wall. The box it literally just pulls off. Well, that kind of sucks. I do have some of this paint. So obviously I'm going to have to cut this box in order to fit here. And then I'm going to have to paint the wall to match. So not a big deal. I'll have to mark that and cut that out. That'll work. Then I'll have a really nice switch here on the wall with a 60-minute timer. Just a regular old tick-tock timer. Already opened up one of the boxes, the controllers, unfurled the cord, kind of figuring out what I got going on here. And it came with this long screws, so I should be good. Should be able just to unscrew those and screw in the new ones. I just have to figure out where all these other lines go, and I need to get this box off the wall. I believe that's the power supply for this, for the 48, 24 volts or whatever it is. I got to figure that part out here real quick. Alright, so I got the pigtails coming out of the back here. This basically replaced the switch, which is right here. And so it had a white, a red, and a white. And when you flip this switch, it flipped which side of the motor got the power. And then when that switched which way the motor turned, and it turns all the way till it hits its limit. You can take this apart. There's instructions that came with it, how to set the, not to set the limits, but how to set the actuator so it goes 90 or 180, depending on how your pool is set up, because these are just electric valve turners is all they're for. They're for turning the valves. The valves are already in there. These are just set up to automatically turn them for you. Alright, so I've got my relay here. It's going to be powered by 120 volts. It's going to be triggered by this timer switch right here. Okay? When this turns on for the up to 1 hour for this timer, then when that turns on, that's going to activate this. And normally these 2 outside posts are the ones that are connected. And when those 2 are connected, that's when I'm going to have this hooked up to be on pool. You know, both valves will be set at whatever travel they need to be for the pool. As soon as the timer turns on for the hot tub, then I want this actuator to turn and move it over to the hot tub, so when the heater's running, or the pumps are running, that the you know, it's going to the hot tub instead of the pool. Well, so normally it'll be these two connections, this one here and the far outside one. But when this relay is activated, it'll be this one and this one. So I'll have to go like red and white, and then it'll be white and red, I believe, when I go the other direction. I'm not sure. It might just be red and white, red and white. But either way, you're not going to be powering both sides at the same time. You only power one. One sends it one way, one sends it the other. All right, take the old valves off. I'm going to cut these wires because I'm actually going to use them for my switching circuit. Because right now, that has the power that goes to it, and the switching is done with the switch on the back. And my new valves are basically the same way, except for I want to do the switching up on the wall up here. So that means I need to carry that voltage back and forth from the switch. So I need another set of wires, and hey, I've got this set of wires. So let's cut them off, and we're gonna make them work. Just another note, so if you look at my valve, it's set up for spa on the right hand side. So basically, if you look at the valve, the way it's sitting, it's at the 3 o'clock position. And this valve, when it's on spa, is in the 3 o'clock position. So that should make it a little easier to get these things timed right, because they basically just have to switch 180 each time they go. And you do want the handle to swing through here, not that way. You want it to swing past, so that shouldn't be too hard to do. I've got this panel apart. I already took a picture of my wiring. I took the wires off of there. This is just a transformer for the 48 volts is all it is. So it brings in the 120, turns it into the 48 volts that I need to run those. Now there is controls on here. There's it's like a vacuum or a pressure line control. That runs a bunch of stuff. At least it used to run a bunch of stuff. The only one that I know it uses for sure is it trips that particular relay for running the spa, or the pumps on the spa. I'm not sure what the other ones do anymore. Maybe they used to have a remote of some sort that switched, but I don't know what all those extra hoses are. I'm just going to leave them in place. They're not hurting anything. I mean, I have one hose here that doesn't run to anything. Never has. It's just always been laying here. So I'll probably, you know, cut some of those off or tie them up and just kind of make it look pretty. But for right now, I mean, it works. I just want to try to get this automated part done. Let me show you out here. I had a big white patch on the wall, and now I've got a brown patch. I could not find the correct paint. I don't know where it went. I've got a white plate that's going to go over this, and then I don't know. I'll figure out something later to cover that up. It had this big plate for the floor heater control covering it, so I couldn't really reuse that or anything like that. So I don't know, maybe if I go to Menards I can find a wall plate that covers this whole thing. I'm not sure yet. Suppose I could put a 3-switch thing in here and pretend it's 3-switch and only use the middle one. I don't know. Anyway, that's where we're at. I didn't do a very good job on the paint match. Ran into a little bit of a hitch. I'm still going to swap out the valves, get everything wired up. I will not be able to wire in the relay because somebody wasn't reading when he did it, and this baby is a DC relay. Now usually it'll be rated, what I should have done is I should have bought an AC relay, and then they're rated down here, they're rated for AC and DC on the contacts on the output. But somehow or another I didn't see that when I ordered this one. So unfortunately this is a DC relay. I'll save this maybe for some other project for my car. But in the meantime I can still wire up or I can hook up the valves, get everything wired and brought up here. I've got the switch on the back of the wall now for the timer. So I can get all of that done. But yeah, silly me. I don't know how I bought the wrong one. The new one will be here in a couple of days. So this video won't go up this weekend. It'll go up next. So that's all right. Sometimes that's how projects go. Let me get these valves off of here, or the switches off of here, and put the new ones on. And then we can get the wires all ran. I can be able to do everything except plug them into the relay. So there was a feed coming out of this box that wasn't being used. In fact, one of the wires was disconnected inside, so I opened up the box, reconnected it. Obviously, I did that with the power off. And then I've got this wire here, and this is the wire. These ends are live now. This wire is what I'm going to be using to run the relay that I bought the wrong one for. In fact, I hooked it up yesterday, and yeah, 110 volts doesn't work really good on a DC relay. Didn't burn it out, but you could hear it rattling because it expected a direct current, not an alternating current. Anyhow, I'm going to work on that, and then since I'm delayed a week, I might as well do the box for the timer also. Might as well go ahead and get that swapped out. So there's just 4 bolts that hold that down. See those 4 holes there. These bolts are a little bit different than the ones that came with the new valves. I'm going to use the old ones because they're coarser to make sure that they hold. Okay, so the first thing I'm doing, I just put the new ones on here with the handles in place where they would be. You know, where they were left just a minute ago. They were both on spa before I took the other one off. That way what I can do is I can hook these up to power now. I'll hook these both up to power. And then I just have to make sure that I don't short these together unless I want it to trigger. So I'll go get some tape or some heat shrink, and put over a few of these connectors so they don't bump. But when I short these two together, it should go all the way to 1 cycle, and then when I short these two together, then it should go the other way. And then if that doesn't work, then there's an adjustment inside where to put the cam in order to get it to rotate the amount or the direction that you want it to go. For mine, I need to go 180 this direction on both of these, 180 in this direction. So hopefully they default to that. If not, I'll have to take them apart again and do a little bit of adjustment on the inside, and that's all included in the instructions with the valve. Alright, so I have them both hooked up to voltage. You notice that one lead is got a cap on it because it does nothing. Actually, take that back. It does make it go the opposite direction, which I don't need it to do. It makes it go back around this way. So I just need this direction. So what I figured out, and I must have taken the switches apart differently, and then, you know, I don't know. No, because the leads are the leads. Maybe they're just made differently. Anyway, one switch works one way and one works the other. So on this one here, if I put these two together, it goes back. That's the spa position. And then if I do the red and the white on this one, I'm sorry, red and red on this one. Oops. I do red and red. It goes all the way over and it stops and pull. I'm not going to make you wait for it. So anyway, it works just like a linear actuator where it has a built-in stop, and it's powered and the motor runs until it hits the stop. So even when you apply power, once it hits the stop, there's no power being drawn anymore. They're really, really handy for controlling things. It's called a linear actuator. In this case, it's a rotary actuator. But they have a built-in stop, and they're really, really nice to use. I used them on the lights on the GTO for the headlight covers. and it's going to work great for this. So for my double pull, double throw switch, I just need to hook up. So now this is a spa, so this is where I want it. When I want it actuated, I want these two connected, these two spades. And then when I want it to go back to pool, which is a default situation, the default condition, when the relay is off, then it'll be here. I'm sorry, both reds together. So this will be the default condition, and it'll pull the valve all the way back to pool. And then when I'm done with the pool, so when the switch is turned on for the hot tub to turn on, and everybody's like, oh, let's go in the hot tub, then these two will connect because a relay will be pulled in, and it'll pull this valve all the way over to spa. And again, it'll only stay there as long as the relay's closed, or the timer's on. And then as soon as it defaults back, then the relay flips back over to the other two controls and flips it back to pool. So that's going to work really handy. And like I say, this one over here is, for whatever reason, the wires are different on the, must have been different on the switch. Maybe the switch was upside down. I don't know. I guess it really doesn't matter. But on this one, it's the two white ones that put it back on spa, and it's these two fat ones that bring it around back to pool. So it doesn't really matter because I'm going to be hooking up extension wires to these in order to get them up to the double pull, double throw switch, which I have on order and be here in a couple of days. I have the correct one on order. So in the meantime, I can tie in these wires, run them up to the box where I'm going to be using them, and I can recolor code them the way I want, so I know where they go. I can put the spade ends on them. I can put the male ends on them so they'll plug right into the switch. And as soon as the switch gets here, I can screw it to the wall, plug everything in, and I am ready to go. No waiting at all. So let's go ahead, and I can get these mounted now. In the meantime, you can still use them manually. I don't know if you, not everybody realizes that, but these Jandy valves, if you loosen up this screw on top for this handle, don't take it out all the way or you'll lose it. When you push down, it's spring loaded. Well, it's not spring loaded right now because it's not connected to the valve, but it is spring loaded when it's attached. And when you push that down, that allows you to move this valve by hand. So if your motor's ever failing and you need to switch them, no big deal. You could move them by hand. Just flip that little switch on the side, flip it to neutral, flip it to off, so the motor won't be fighting you. My valves failed where they would go one way but not the other. So I just had them turned off. And to my knowledge, they never had anything automated hooked up, or maybe they did a long time ago and it just quit working. So they just had them off. So it took me a little bit of, to figure out what all this plumbing was doing here. And I got another one that goes out and drains the pool if necessary. So you got to be really careful when you're doing stuff so you don't accidentally flood or drain stuff you shouldn't be. But those valves can be actuated by hand. Okay, so I have these wired up identically now, so the connections when they go into the relay are going to be the same. So right now, I'm just going to drop this other one here. If I do red and black together, so red is the power. That's the one I'm calling the common or the power. And if I do to black, that should be the default. That's just the way I'm doing it. Doesn't matter what colors you use. So it should start to turn on this left valve here, because it's supposed to go back to pool. Right now it was on spa. Okay, and then if I connect it red to the white one, I don't know why it doesn't want to focus here. If I do red to the white one, then it should go back to spa. And that'll be the one that'll be activated when the relay is on. And I wired them both the same so that when I go and hook it up to the relay, it's less confusing. The wires down below were hooked up differently, but up here, where I'm going to have to plug it into the relay where it matters, I was able to get everything straightened out. So red again is the common, is the hot one. If I go black, it should start turning and go over toward the pool side. And if I connect the other two, it'll go back to spa. Easy as that. Now I just have to wait for my relay. What I'm going to do is I'm going to cap off the common one here. Just going to put a piece of shrink wrap over the tip here, because that's the one that has that's the common one with the power. Do the same thing over here. So now I can play around with these now. It's only 24 volts, so you're not even, I felt a little bit of a zip on my finger if you get your fingers in between. So 24 volts is not a big deal. All right, so those are capped off. Now I can get the valves put on, and I can get everything back to where that just needs to be for now, until I get that relay. In fact, I probably should run that valve all the way over, otherwise it's not going to line up when I put it on. So let's do that real quick. Make sure that one's all the way to the stop. Run him to the stop. Like I say, it'll just turn off. Easy peasy. All right, let's get these switches put back on the valves, get everything bolted down, and then I'll probably get everything tied up into place, and then I have to wait until my relay shows up. Pumps are on in their default configuration. I ran them all the way over there with the motor powered. I got all the wires tied up so nobody's going to trip over them or anything like that. Over here, all the extra wire coiled up there, that goes to the power. And then these wires come up here, got them tied off, and they're just sitting here waiting for the relay to show up. All right, so this is my old timer. Got the power off. Took the screws out so I can get the box off the wall, because I'm going to be replacing this with a newer timer. This should be pretty straightforward. I've got one's a load and one's a line in. I just need to figure out which one is which. So this is going to be the line in here. So this is the line in because it comes from here. Here's the line in coming down. That's my line in. And then this one here is my load. So line and load. I'm just going to disconnect all this. Whenever you're working with this happens to be 240 volt. I like to use a sniffer. When I'm dealing with electrical stuff and you want to make sure your power is off, that happens to be 240. I'll show you over here. I've got this sniffer. Hold the button and it'll sense AC current or AC voltage. And some things you have to get a little closer to if it's a lower voltage. But I definitely do not have any power over here. I've got this all turned off. That's my 240 volt circuit. I'm going to be disconnecting this now. I got this box apart. I just got to hook up my new box. If you're not comfortable doing electrical, hire an electrician. It's not a big deal. I'm fairly comfortable doing this. It's pretty straightforward. But if you're not comfortable, then by all means, go ahead and hire an electrician. Just like they came out, and they have the little locks on the lines in the box. I've got them. My new box is mounted on the wall. I got them in. I got the line coming in here and the load over here. I have the line and load are here and here. Not a big deal. Let me get those hooked up together. This is my override switch. So this is where that wire is going to run for the override. So I knocked out a hole in the box here. My box is inside, so I don't have to worry about moisture. And I'm really not worried about bugs or anything. Otherwise, you would definitely want to seal this with a grommet. And I could still put a grommet in there if I'm concerned. This particular box has a voltage switch right there. Be sure you have it on the right one. I know I'm on 240, so I set it for 240. So when I turn the power on, this thing should automatically come up in the proper mode. I still want to get the rest of my wiring hooked up before I power this on, but the wiring inside the box is done except for this one wire that runs up here for the override switch for the hot tub. But other than that, I'm done. She's mounted to the wall solidly. We're good to go. I really didn't show it, but if you don't know what you're doing, you shouldn't be doing this anyway. But it's red to red, white to white, and then the two greens are the common, and those get just wire nutted together. That's what they were on their last setup. So that's what I did this time. So let me get the rest of this wiring done, and then we can see if we can't fire this thing up. All right. So I only bought a double pole, double throw switch, so I didn't realize I needed to have another contact for the override for the timer. So I'm going to wire these together. I'm going to run white to white, black to black. It doesn't matter. It's just a switching circuit on the valves, on the valve motors. So there's no really current going through them. It's just a contact to let it know which one is which. If there's a small amount of current, it's not a big deal. These wires are more than sufficient to handle it, and they're both going the same way. So I'm just going to wire these two together so I can have the other side of the double pole, double throw switch for the override switch inside the timer. Switch is mounted. I realize this 120 volt is exposed, so I'll have to put some shrink wrap on that. Maybe I'll even put a whole box around this to limit access. But this door is going to be locked also. But its switch already works. I tried it out. I don't have the pumps hooked up, but if I turn the timer on, you see the valves automatically move. And the only thing you hear is the tick, tick, tick of the timer. And if you turn the timer to off, then the switches go back. I'm not going to go through the setup on this because I'm sure everyone is different, but the power's on. I have my signal wire hooked up. It's just temporarily hooked up right now. It runs over to the box. I turned it on and it did not automatically turn on the pump, and the valves are on pool like they should be. As part of this pool project with the valves, I also have a leak, and it is a crack in the steps here. I have repaired another crack on the other side here several years ago. It looks cracked on top, but that's just because I put some spray sealant over the top, and the white part of it, the paint, cracked. But the actual epoxy is holding. So I'm going to mix up some more epoxy to put here and seal this crack up. It seemed to work pretty good last time. I tried just using the spray sealant and it did not work. So we're gonna mix up some epoxy, scrape that crack so it has a really good spot to adhere to. It's been drying for a couple of days. Get that epoxy on there, and then my repair should be good for several more years. And what I did on the other one, I just put the spray sealant over the top of it so it doesn't, so it's the same color as the rest of the steps. The epoxy is dry on the steps already. It was a 5-minute epoxy, so it dried pretty quick. Just filling the pool back up. It was down quite a ways. It's getting to be fall outside. I'll show you a picture out the back window here. So we've got to keep the temperature up in the pool area. Otherwise it'll freeze out here. So anyway, it's a beautiful pool. I'm gonna clean the filter one time about halfway through this filling to make sure that all the water is nice and filtered and clean. I add a little bit of chlorine, like 1 chlorine tablet to the skimmer. So once I get up there, I can get my chlorine content right. But I hardly use any chemicals in this pool. And it stays good year round. Really don't have any problems. The cover really helps as well. So anyway, I'll be back later when she's full. I've got the pool heating up right now. Everything's in place. This plastic cover's in here. Everything's set on. I already scheduled everything. So that's ready to go. It's all running. Everything's running on automatic perfectly. No problems at all. I tried out the hot tub last night. Came in here and flipped the switch. It's up on the wall. I still haven't figured out how I'm going to match that paint yet. That works. Everything works perfectly. As long as the pumps are not running and you turn this on, then it turns on the pumps. The only time would be a problem is if the pumps were already running. When you turn this on, that override switch in the panel is an override. It's just a toggle, so it toggles it one way or the other. So that would be the only problem, is if either you're running the hot tub and the automatic timer kicks in, or you try to do the timer when the pumps are already on. Would be the only issue with that. I have the pumps running at times where I would normally not be out here anyway. So that's really a non-issue, and I can still manually control things. It's not a big deal. Anyway, I've got the pool filled back up. That leak has been eliminated. The pool's staying full. I'm just trying to get it up to temperature so we can enjoy it today. It's a cold gray day outside. And also the temperature of the pool is what keeps this room warm, so I really needed to get this thing fixed before it got too far into fall here. Otherwise there's no heat out in this room. Okay, so I hope that helps some people out. These are the Swimmables 24 VAC valve actuators, so 24 volts AC. They're not Jandy valves, but they are I think they're a good replacement. They bolted right in. I've not had any problems with them. The controls and the wiring were pretty straightforward. They plugged right into the power supply that I already had set up here. And then, if you remember, I did the relay up here for the timer switch. So yeah, pretty straightforward. If you have any questions about how to wire those, please message me and I can walk you through it. I can probably even upload a diagram to my Facebook page. That's probably the easiest way to get you the information. But anyway, everything's all automated now, and I've got a new timer, and yeah, it's way better than it was. I don't have to worry about people having to do the valves or anything like that. They come out here, just turn on the timer for the hot tub. It's good to go. And then the pool's automatically on a set timer. I have it overridden right now because we're going to try to use it tonight, and it was cold. So anyway, thanks again, everybody. Liking, subscribing, following along, all that great stuff. Again, if you have any questions, please message me. Otherwise, we'll see you in the next video. Take care. See ya.